It's kind of funny that this franchise started out with a little Asian guy dressed in a rubber suit, stepping on miniature cardboard buildings. Just saying. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. That title kind of spoils the end of the movie. Is the sequel to the 2014 Godzilla, and set in the same universe as the more recent Kong Skull Island. It involves a bunch of people that are trying to retrieve a device that's being used to wake up all these titan monsters around the world that are now running amok and trashing everything in their path. There's some other stuff about a terrorist organization and what they think should happen with the world and what the world needs, and some little people doing some talky stuff that we're really just not very interested in, because what we're all here to see is some big ass monsters fight and trash cities. Hell yeah! And if that's what you came for, you are 100% gonna get that. But if you came for an intriguing story with interesting characters, well, I really enjoyed 2014's Godzilla. It was not what I or anyone really expected out of a Godzilla movie at all. It was a lot more cerebral than any of us expected, and it did focus more on the human characters in all the chaos with the monsters. And while I and a lot of people did think it was a really good movie, a lot of people complained that there wasn't enough monsters and fighting in it. Well, I will say that they remedied that this time around, because Godzilla King of the Monsters has monsters everywhere, and they're fighting left and right. As stated before, if all you're interested in is seeing big monsters fight, then you've come to the right place. Speaking of those monsters, they are amazing here. The special effects work in this movie is top notch. These monsters look real and very believable. And unlike the last movie where they kind of tried to hide the monsters for a good portion of the film, they're showing these monsters in their full glory out the gate. And like I said, they do look really good. And not just the monsters, all the special effects in this movie are AAA. This is definitely what I would classify as a special effects extravaganza. This is the best representation of Godzilla and friends that has ever been put to film. Unfortunately, the same can't be said about everything else in the movie. Let's start with the human characters. People did complain about the human characters being too much of a focus in the first movie. And while I'm not saying there couldn't be a Godzilla or a monster movie that doesn't have humans in it and it could still be good, this isn't that movie. This movie needs human characters to move the story along. And admittedly, these characters do move the story along, but they just kind of move it along in a really dull way. Most of the performances in the movie are what you'd expect from a movie of this caliber, though a few of the performances are a bit higher than what you'd expect. Ken Watanabe, as usual, outshines pretty much everybody he's on screen with at any given time. And Charles Dance does a fantastic job as well, though it is a pretty limited amount of screen time. Pretty much everybody else does fine though, with the exception of the father character played by Kyle Chandler. I honestly can't remember the character's name, which isn't really saying much because I can't really remember any of the human characters' names in this movie. Either way, Kyle Chandler's character is a bit too much. His performance is okay, I guess. It's pretty much on the same level as everyone else's, but his character is a bit too much and totally unbelievable. Yes, I'm talking about believability in a Godzilla movie. This guy has the answer for everything. It could be in like a military war room, which why the hell is he there anyway? But regardless, it could be in this military war room with a bunch of military personnel having a conversation about what to do. And this guy just comes up and pulls something out of his ass at every turn, and everybody just listens to everything he says. But it's not as if he has some military background or anything like that whatsoever. No, he's like a photographer or something. His character is more of a plot device than anything else. He's there to get the story out of corners that it paints itself into. And a lot of the times his character just seems kind of intrusive. I know it's a Godzilla movie, we're not looking for Oscar-worthy material here, but his character's actions just really stand out the whole entire movie. I mean, really, who the hell is this guy? The only other character I really had issue with in the movie, I really don't want to say who it is because it involves a little bit of a spoiler. It's a character that you're supposed to like and then dislike, and then of course in the end they end up redeeming themselves and you're supposed to like them again. I mean, we've all seen this type of character before, and that's fine. My problem is the things that this character does for you to dislike them are so bad that I felt like there was really no coming back from. And when said character had this redeeming moment, I really didn't care about all that. I just wanted them to die. I mean, the shit this person does is really bad, like mass genocide bad. I mean, it's kind of hard to come back from that. On the story front, things do fare a little better. The story overall isn't great, but it is interesting enough to keep you going. The whole idea about these titan monsters waking up and coming together to follow an alpha monster, and then the battle between the monsters to see who's going to be the king of the monsters, is actually pretty cool. Unfortunately, like the monsters themselves, the movie that this story's in is just kind of dull. I mean, there's lots of cool things going on screen at any given time during this movie. And they seem like they should be really exciting, cool things. But mainly due to the really poor character development and the just not giving a shit about anybody on screen, you just don't really care about all this cool stuff going on screen. It's kind of sad because the action set pieces in this movie are really cool, but you really just don't care. Guys, I was really looking forward to this movie. Coming off the heels of Kong Skull Island, which I did actually enjoy, Godzilla 2014, and the absolutely awesome trailer for this movie, I really thought it was a shoo-in for an exciting, good time. But I mean, it's just not. I can't go as far as to say it's totally boring, but I can say a good portion of it's just kind of dull. I'm sure some of you will get enjoyment out of the monster on monster action, but beyond that, this movie really just doesn't have much more to offer. It's not awful, but it definitely doesn't live up to the pedigree of this series up to this point. It's just okay, and being okay, I can't really recommend you spending much money on this thing. So if you're a fan of Godzilla, check this one out on Netflix. It's not an awful movie and you'll have an okay time with it. But for me, overall, I was pretty disappointed. So there it is, guys, my review of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a thumbs up. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. While I was disappointed in this movie, I'm not gonna lie, that first Ghidorah vs. Godzilla fight was pretty badass. The first one, not the second one. The second one was a whole bunch of build up to be badass and then just kind of a letdown. Kind of like the rest of the movie, I guess.